Going to college as a girl, mistaken admission. Chris was summoned to talk to the Dean of Admissions at the Walker Academy of Nursing. After earning a 2-year degree in business administration at a junior college, he entered a competition for a 2-year scholarship in nursing at Walker with a goal towards nursing administration and was eagerly waiting for the results. He had learned that Walker is a very well-accredited school associated with a large medical facility, and the scholarship included tuition, books, plus room and board. He knew he would ultimately need a 4-year degree, but if he could get the first 2 years paid for, he would be well on his way, he thought, with his BA degree as a good foundation. A gentle boy, Chris was small in stature for his age but very scholastic. Perhaps this influenced him to pursue a career in nursing administration since this required more brain than brawn and seemed to be potentially very lucrative. Always a good student, he had studied hard in preparation for the scholarship exam, and now he was hoping to hear good news. As Chris entered, he noticed the building smelled of academia, the musty odor of old wood mixed with the cleaning solvents or whatever it was, but it was so typical of school buildings. The well-worn wooden floors creaked as he walked, breaking the silence. Certainly, unlike the tiled cement floors of modern public institutions, he thought. This was an old yet well-accredited nursing facility. Chris knew it would help his career to have training from this school on his resume. Locating the office of Miss Jane Whitley, the Dean of Admissions, he slowly entered. Even the door creaked in protest of its age. Introducing himself and his purpose to the secretary, who then passed the information over the telephone, he was directed to enter the dean's office. He was greeted by a distinguished-looking, middle-aged woman sitting at a large oak desk, attending to stacks of paperwork. "Chris Adams," she said, looking up from her work. "Yes, ma'am," he replied. "You're a man," she said, surprised. "I think so, ma'am," trying not to mock yet replying to the obvious. "That's not indicated on your application for admission." "They didn't ask gender, ma'am." I guess not, but from your name, they assumed you were female, Chris. Anyway, I called you here to inform you that you've won the scholarship for our 2-year program. Congratulations. But I now see we have a problem. Walker is a girls' school with obviously a girls-only dormitory, making it impossible for you to attend. We've never had a male student. Yes, we do have a real problem. Miss Whitley, I competed fairly for the scholarship. There was no mention in the information and your application papers about any gender restrictions. I naturally assumed it was a co-ed college, as many have gone that direction, even military academies. I must ask that either you allow me to attend classes or pay me the cash equivalent of the program so that I may go elsewhere. I put in a lot of hard work preparing for your test. I'm not going to give up easily. Oh, we can't possibly settle for cash. That would set a very bad precedent. I agree it was careless not to screen for gender in our paperwork, but this problem has never happened before. Probably because of your rather androgynous name, we didn't catch your application. And, now mistakenly, we assumed everyone applying for admission knew Walker was a girls' school and not coeducational. Being a private college, we are not required to provide open enrollment. We don't rely on public funding. Anyway, I understand your position, so let me discuss this with the directors of the academy to see if something can be worked out. Please return in 2 days. I'll have an answer. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, the young man said as he departed. Miss Whitley studied Chris as he stood up and walked away. At least, she thought, he certainly wouldn't stand out much among the girls. He's short, slight of stature, and might make an attractive girl with that long hair and those long eyelashes. I'll mention this to the board. There may be a way to resolve this problem. She thought it strange that, in choosing this school, he assumed the school was co-ed. Why had he not investigated further? Walker is such an old school and well-reputed. The days passed rapidly, and at the appointed time, Chris returned to Miss Whitley's office. "Good morning, Mr. Adams." "Good morning, Miss Whitley. I hope you have good news for me." "I think I do, Mr. Adams. The board has agreed to make an exception in your case because you tested so well in the entrance exam and your educational background is outstanding. They will allow you to attend our college with, of course, some restrictions." "Thank you, Miss Whitley, I really appreciate your effort," he said excitedly. "You haven't heard the requirements yet. As you must certainly be aware by now, this is a nursing school. All students wear uniforms to class, and you will be required to do so, too. Of course, we will provide the proper uniforms. We have a rather strict dress code other than the uniforms, which you will be required to follow. Here is a packet containing our rules and regulations, which you will be required to adhere to without exception. Any violations will give us cause to terminate your scholarship. So look everything over quite carefully. I know this may sound extreme, but it's the best compromise I could get. I'm sure I'll have no problem with your rules, and I agree to your terms," Chris said excitedly. He didn't expect to get this far without a battle. He would have agreed to anything at this point, and he just did. He accepted the envelope and placed it under his arm. Turning to leave, he said, "Thank you again, Miss Whitley." "One more thing," she said. "About your living quarters, there is a room on the lower level of the building that was once used by a custodian when he resided on campus. We'll have it fixed up for you. You'll even have the luxury of a private bathroom. I think you'll be quite comfortable. You can move in 1 week before classes start. Good luck, and by the way, please leave your clothing measurements for your uniforms with my secretary." "I will, and thanks again. Goodbye." The secretary handed Chris a form for the uniform order. He sat down and began to complete it. Height, 5 feet 3 inches, weight, 128 pounds, dress size. How would I know? Well, this is the form for girls. I'll skip that, he thought. Waist, 27-inch, shoe size, 6B. Maybe this will confuse them even more when they see this form and my measurements. Not exactly those of a football player. This is going to be very interesting. Chris couldn't wait to settle into his new home for the next 2 years. At the earliest date, he arrived at the school, parked his old car near the nurse's dorm, and entered to locate and check out his quarters. It took some effort to find the refurbished room since there was no one to ask. He knew only that it was in the basement, near the boiler room. But it was clean, well lit, and freshly painted. It has a built-in bunk bed, a desk, and a chair. Very monastic, he thought, but suitable and very isolated. On the desk was a large package, wrapped in brown paper, with his name on it. Probably the uniforms, he thought. The bathroom, which was adjacent to his room, was clean and refurbished. Finding the rooms satisfactory, he began unloading his car and moving his few possessions into the new quarters. It was hardly a carload, mostly small items. Nearing completion, he noticed a young lady approaching him, which was unique because it was early and there were few students on the campus yet. And she was a very attractive girl, about Chris's height, long brown hair, green eyes, slender body, well developed. Chris was immediately impressed. "Hi," she said, greeting him with a warm smile. "I'm Terry Neal. Not many people are here today." "Hi Terry, I'm Chris Adams. Are you helping someone move in, Chris?" "Actually, no, I'm moving myself in. You're a student here? She asked surprisingly. Yes, it's a long story, Chris replied in anticipation of the many such explanations forthcoming. Let me give you a hand, she said, grabbing a briefcase as the last thing in his car and following him. Okay, thanks. They wound their way down one flight of stairs and through the dimly lit corridor to his room. The door had been left open, exposing the mess Chris had created when he piled everything on the bed to be sorted later. Wow, Terry said, nice room. You'll have a lot of privacy. I have to share with a roommate. So, when did this school go co-ed? It hasn't gone co-ed. Well, not exactly. I applied for and won a scholarship to Walker. I assumed the school was co-ed like so many others, and they accepted my application assuming I was a girl. I can see why. Chris could be a girl's name. I've had the same problem in reverse. Blame our parents for that. Anyway, since I did win and they caught the error, I gave them the choice of allowing me admission or paying me the equivalent value, which they refused to do, so we compromised, and here I am. Fun. You're going to have a great time being the only guy with all us girls. I hope you don't resent me being here, but it's an opportunity one can't pass up. It's worth a lot of money. Ha. My dad would agree with you on that. I don't see why you'd be resentful. These days, the blending of genders is happening all over. We're here for an education. I don't know why this school isn't co-ed, anyway. Let's see what my uniforms look like, Chris said, opening the package. They said I must wear a uniform too. Removing the outer wrapper, he opened the inner box and removed a layer of folded garments. What's this? Dresses. I expected male nurses in uniforms. Pants, shirts. They know I'm not a girl. There must be some mistake, I can't wear these. Did you read the information they gave you about the uniforms and dress code? Did it make any exceptions for you? Well, no, actually, I guess I forgot. I was too excited about being accepted. I just assumed it was routine stuff, but modified for a guy in my case. In fact, here's the envelope. I never opened it. Let's have a look. Here's the part about the uniforms, Terry pointed out. The uniform will consist of a white cotton dress, a light blue apron, white hose, and white flat-heeled shoes, all but the hose to be provided by the school. They didn't alter a thing for you. And they told me no exceptions, and I agreed, Chris said dejectedly. If I violate the rules, I lose the scholarship. That's their out, they know what they're doing. They want me to resist, and I'm history. Look at the rest of the dress code. While on campus, no shorts or jeans are to be worn. Slacks are permissible. Proper attire is considered to be skirts or dresses. Sweat outfits are to be worn only in the athletic facility. While in the dining hall, proper attire is mandatory. Boy, are you going to have fun. And I agreed to this. I obviously didn't know what I was doing. This is worth a lot to me financially, so I'm committed. I've got to make the best of it. I can't throw away 2 years of free education. I guess I'll be wearing dresses for a while, although I'll feel foolish. I just hate to give in to the school's management and let them win. Well, Chris, if you want, I'll help you. It's going to be quite a new experience for you, and I think you need a woman's help. Thanks, Terry. I really appreciate your offer, and I do accept it. Doesn't it offend you that a guy is going to wear a girl's clothes and attend a girl's school? Not in the least, Chris. Welcome to the woman's world. You'll be able to experience what it's like to be a girl. Maybe it'll do you some good. I hope the other girls are as understanding. I'm sure glad I met you. When you get settled here, we're going to have to do some shopping. You'll need some things to add to your new wardrobe. Certainly, for a start, you need some white stockings. You don't have any, do you? Terry winked. She stepped back and studied Chris's petite features. He is blonde, slender, and wears his hair long in a ponytail. His eyebrows are barely visible, and his eyelashes are long and curved, very girlish. You know, you and I are about the same size. In fact, you may even be a bit smaller. That's handy. Shopping for you should be easy since I already know what sizes you take. Call me when you're ready to go, room 202, and I suggest you read your rules and regulations to see what else you got yourself into, Terry said, departing with a laugh and leaving Chris with mixed emotions. He was both embarrassed at his predicament and determined not to let the school win by default. They had now challenged Chris, and he accepted it. Chris met Terry at his car, and they embarked on a shopping trip for some school clothes for Chris, unlike any shopping he had ever done. At a large mall, they entered a department store, where Terry led them to the lingerie section. To Chris, it looked like a sea of lace and femininity. Things he had usually walked past, but now had a vested interest in looking at. He was completely out of his element here. Alone, he would have felt extremely out of place, but with Terry's guidance, he felt more comfortable, especially since there were few customers in the area. You need some white stockings for the uniform. I suggest these thigh-highs, unless you prefer pantyhose or garters. No thanks. These will do fine. You may have a problem with them staying up, but you can try them, Terry advised. The size is on the back of the package. See, your size is the same as mine. Terry selected some different colored hoses as well. Chris wondered why but decided not to ask. What about underpants? Do you wear those bulky jockey shorts? Yes. They're going to show under your new clothes and look odd. So what do you suggest, boss? I'd recommend cotton or nylon pants. They're thin, so they won't show, and they're easy to launder. And I think you'll find them comfortable, she said, holding up some examples. Okay, whatever you say. Terry picked out 7 pairs of nylon pants of assorted colors and varying degrees of lace trim. One for every day of the week, she pointed out with a wink. I don't suppose I could talk you into wearing a bra, could I? With a little padding, it would give you some shape. She was pushing. Don't get carried away, Terry. I don't need the shape, Terry replied, although the idea was becoming interesting. To be considered another time. Okay, thought I'd try. Maybe later, she mumbled, but I do think you really need some slips. That cotton uniform dress is going to be awfully scratchy against your skin. I'll take your word for that. Go ahead with whatever you think. You're being so cooperative. I think you're enjoying this. He was enjoying this, but he replied, I have to enjoy this. It's going to be my way of life for the next 2 years. Terry selected 2 full slips and 2 half slips, all in white nylon. Chris began to be intrigued by the selection of the female undergarments for him. Caught up in this environment of lingerie with all the lace, garters, and feminine finery, and with the thought that he was committed to having to wear this stuff, he suddenly felt a certain excitement to try them on, something he'd never done before. What would it be like to dress as a girl? He wondered. The purchases were paid for, and they headed to the women's dresses section. Why are we here, Terry? Chris asked. You're going to need some things to wear out of class, you know, like at mealtime. Remember the dress code. Oh yes, skirts and dresses. But watch my budget, please. This is coming out of my savings. We'll set you up with a minimum outfit for now, then wait for some sales. I know this gets pretty expensive. You can borrow clothes from me if you need them. Thank you, dearie, Chris said mockingly. He was going to wear Terry's clothes. Yeah, right, but then, what a novel idea. We'll share our things, right? He said. Why not? We're the same size. It's like an extended wardrobe. All the girls borrow from each other in a dormitory. Well, I've never lived in a girls' dorm before. Chris was starting to get aroused at the thought of being a part of this woman's world. Can you pick things that are not so frilly and lacy? Chris asked. Don't fight me, Chris. I know what I'm doing. You won't be able to try this stuff on here, but I'm sure they'll be okay. You'll find the skirts more convenient to wear, but once in a while you need a dress. This style will be the most flattering for you. The frilly front conceals your flatness since you won't wear a bra. Not that again. I thought I'd try. Forget it. These items were purchased, and they moved on. What's next, boss? I think you need some shoes. You can't wear white shoes all the time, and your boys' shoes will look dumb with a skirt. In the shoe department, Chris tried some women's shoes when no one was looking. I can't believe you also wear the same shoe size as I do, Terry exclaimed. This makes it even easier. I'll model them, and you tell me if you like them. What do I care? I trust your judgment. You select what I need. Okay, I think this is the best compromise. Terry chose a pair of black pumps with a 2-inch heel and a pair of flats. She modeled them for Chris, and he agreed they looked nice. You won't have a problem walking in these, and they're not too dressy but still stylish. Are we done? Chris was getting anxious to leave the store. He had mixed emotions about the whole endeavor. Both excitement and apprehension. I think so. These are the basics. The rest you can borrow from me. The rest? Accessories and stuff. You'll see in time. They stopped for a bite to eat at a food court and returned to the Walker School of Nursing. Entering Chris's room, Terry said, I think you should try on a uniform to see how it fits before classes begin, so there are no problems. Sounds like a reasonable idea. Do I need all the proper things too? Chris was becoming eager to try his new purchases, especially in the privacy of his room. If he was going to make a fool of himself, he wanted to be alone, or in this case, with a trusted friend. Of course. You might as well see if they fit also and start to get used to them. Okay, wait here. I'll be right back. Chris took the packages and went into the bathroom to change. He began to unwrap each item and lay them out in preparation. This is just like unwrapping Christmas presents, he yelled out to Terry. Except you paid for these, she replied. Chris stripped naked and pulled on a pair of pants. They fit perfectly and felt comfortable while snugly caressing his genitals with the fine nylon material. Was it the thought of wearing girls' pants that made them so comfy? Next, he placed a slip over his head and slid it down his body. It too felt strangely delightful, clinging to his svelte figure. And it looked very nice. He was admiring himself in the mirror on the inside of the door. This is going to be okay, he thought. Sitting on the toilet, he carefully pulled on a pair of white stockings. They rolled up his naturally hairless legs easily. Luckily, Chris had very little body hair, and being blonde, what he had was fuzz. I could get used to this, he felt. In fact, the thought of what he was doing combined with the tactile sensation of the delicate fabrics felt so arousing that he was getting an erection, which slightly showed under his form-fitting slip. Then came the moment of truth. He lifted the white cotton dress over his head, arms through the sleeves, and pulled it down over the slip, smoothing it out, and awkwardly buttoned the reversed buttons of the front upper part. Except for the empty bodice, it fit perfectly, as had everything else. He continually admired himself in the mirror with each item. Finally, came the blue bib apron, which went over the dress and was tied in the back, and the white, flat-heeled nurse's shoes. Luckily, the loose skirt and apron concealed his, by now, very ridged penis. He removed the band from his ponytail and fluffed his hair to let it fall fully, creating a feminine presentation. "Here I come," Chris said as he stepped into the room where Terry was waiting. He was visibly nervous, never having done anything like this before, and with a girl he had just met. "Wow, fantastic. It looks like a perfect fit. And you do make a very nice-looking woman, Nurse Adams. Now, maybe a little makeup." "Hey, wait a minute," he said, offering a feeble protest but afraid to suggest it himself. "Okay, I thought I'd try. How's the underwear? Fit okay?" "Actually, they're great," Chris said enthusiastically. He slowly walked around the room to feel the dress brush against his hose-clad legs. It was a new and unusual feeling, but delightful. "I believe you like these things," Terry observed. "Wait till you try on the other things, which, by the way, I think you should change into. We can eat in the dining room tonight. Remember the dress code. It's time you start."